Hi, I'm Eve. I'm the Director of Photography for Realm Pictures, currently shooting The Underwater Realm. We are privileged enough to have Mr. Philip Bloom as one of our associate producers, and so I've come here today to do a basic lighting tutorial. What better place to do that than philipbloom.net? Lighting is the most important part to my job, and it sounds cliche, but I would much rather shoot a well-lit scene on a DSLR than a badly lit scene on 35mm. We have had a lot of questions recently asking us how we go about lighting our video blogs and more recently our Kickstarter video. And so today I'm going to take you through step by step how you can light your own interview or a video like this one. But to do that we have to go right back to the beginning. So here we are in our blank canvas, our dark room, and I guess the first thing we're going to need to do is turn on a light. So I should now be correctly exposed, and a lot of people may leave it at this, but I really wouldn't. It looks fairly nasty. The reason for this is because there's not that much separation between me and the background. We're both lit fairly well. The way we're going to combat this is we're going to use something called the inverse square law. This sounds really, really scary, really technical, but it's not. It basically means the closer you bring your light, providing that you keep the exposure on your subject correct, the darker the background's going to be. Now you can correct your exposure any usual way, the aperture, ISO, shutter speed. We're actually using ND, but of course if you're fortunate enough you can also use dimmers on your lights. Okay, so we've brought the light closer. That's darkened the background, therefore adding a little bit of contrast between me and it. Hahowever, we've still got these horrible harsh shadows my earrings are creating here. As I turn my face you can see this horrible nose shadow, which I absolutely hate. Also, I haven't got much of an eye light here. Eye light I think is massively important. Never forget an eye light. They say that the eyes are the window to the soul, so get that little eye light in there, make them ping a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these harsh shadows and we're going to use diffusion. Dave, if you could pop that diffusion up for me. And this is going to soften out those shadows and give me a much larger eye light. That's because we've now turned a really small light source into a much bigger light source. Also remember that when you're putting up lights you should always wear gloves because lights do get fairly hot when you're handling them. So now we've done that, we've given it a much more elegant look I think for this interview, and like I said, a much larger eye light. I'm just going to knock that out of frame a little bit there. Okay, so now we've done that, that's worked fairly well, but as the background is now darker, so is my hair, we've kind of lost that separation a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit up a hair light. What this is going to do, it's not only going to highlight the glossiness of my newly washed hair, but it's also going to basically draw a line around my head and shoulders, just getting that little bit of separation back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add my next favourite, which is the 3/4 backlight. Now that pretty much says what it does on the tin. It's not a full backlight, this is actually a 3/4 backlight. And the reason why I love this so much is because when you use a soft diffuse light like this, you run the risk of maybe flattening any modelling that you've got given in the face. And what this one's going to do is just bring out any modelling in the cheekbone, the chin, around the ear, and it's just going to give your subject a bit more of a three-dimensional feel. You can adjust the height, the angle of the 3/4 backlight depending on the subject that you're shooting. You could be shooting a real fat man or an absolute supermodel with stunning cheekbones, so just bear that in mind when you're shooting different subject matters. Okay, so that is our basic lighting setup. You can leave it there, it looks perfectly fine. I think you could shoot like this. But because this is a Philip Bloom tutorial page, we're going to take it a little bit further. Those of you who follow our weekly blog will know that we are huge fans of our film memorabilia, especially our King Kong crawler on the back wall. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to throw a little bit of light up on the background. Now we've got that dark space. There we go. You've thrown up the blue one. Is that the blue one? No. Oh, okay. So we've thrown up a bit of light on that back wall there, just giving us a bit of interest in the background. But I think we may have lost a little bit of separation. That's actually a tungsten fluorescent bulb in the background there. So what I'm going to ask Dave to do is change that out to a daylight balance bulb, which should give us more of a blue light. And we might regain the contrast between my orange sort of skin tone red hair and the back blue light. There we go, that's better. That's given us a bit more separation. And then the last final touches, we've just got a little bit of colour down here in these red bins. I think we should just hit up a little bit. Maybe, I think we've got a desk lamp down there that's just going to hit up some specular highlights. Perfect, on off, there you go, you can see that. And the last final touch there is a little bit of dead space up here in this left hand corner on the stairs, so we're just going to throw a little bit of light down those stairs. Never forget the little touches like this, they can add a lot of depth to shots. There we go, one final light down the stairs, and that is your final finished product. So there you have it, there is our lighting setup. We used a total of 6 lights to make it happen. This is what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. And just to do a bit of a recap, we've got the key light, the hair light, 3/4 backlight, and 3 lights in the background just hitting up a bit of detail. For those of you that are familiar with 3-point lighting setups, you'll notice that we didn't talk about any fill, but I really don't think you'll mind, so don't worry. If any of this has been useful to you, then please come over to theunderwaterrealm.com, where we do a weekly blog and talk about this sort of stuff all the time. However, more importantly, please come over to our Kickstarter campaign page, where we're offering fantastic tutorials on all sorts of things, including exploding cannons to make safe explosions for your indie action film, to battery-powered LED soft lighting. Fantastic tutorials that are really worth any donations that you guys can offer us. As I said earlier, Phil Blue made a donation. He is an associate producer on this project, which really means a lot to us, so thank you so much for that, Phil. If you have any questions for me or for any of the team, then please do get in touch. The best way to get in touch with me is on Twitter. I am @Eve Hazelton. Thanks very much for listening, and I will see you all really soon.